Hello and welcome to this video about how to control your Claude Code. And in this video I'm going to show you how I create and update my documentation that is the main force that controls Claude Code. It really doesn't matter what agent you have, this system will be able to give any coding agent enough context and background and direction to complete jobs properly. So first off, I want to start in this Claude web, just a normal Claude web chat. When I started making the MVP for MoSpeech, it helped just starting up new chats, and I uploaded a lot of the documentation for this MVP, and it was kind of place to get advice and direction outside of the actual coding repo. And I kind of started creating this new system of making documents. This is the old system where I would make um, quite lengthy markdown files of different sections. Even though this was quite good, it was a very long. The actual documents were very long. So when I started this um, this chat here, this was for the full build. I'm asking Claude. Um, I'm designing the screens for the full build of MoSpeech. It's going to be a fully functional AAC with modeling guides for students. And as you can see, it's basically just a brain dump. And I knew that Claude would kind of go through it and turn it into something more structured. So that's it. We started, and then it asked me questions, and we start going. It gives me um, it gives me a list inventory of screens to design, and I went through this. And to be honest, at first glance it looked good, but the more I looked into it, it didn't really understand about um, my theory of having banners and toggles, and how they would flip, and on which pages they would flip, and the play modal and how that would work. So I kind of ignored that, and I just kept going. I just kept talking. Um, so telling it that I'm doing designs in the background, and I keep talking, asking it things, building up a better picture of what's going to be, and how I'm going to build it. And then we hit this first one. It's ADR6. I don't know why I called it ADR6, but it was about the modeling mode that I wanted, and it gave me this this markdown file. It stated the problem, the decision, how it's going to work, the guided walkthrough flows. It was good. It was short, and it got me thinking. Instead of just creating like how I did for the MVP, general kind of just a few files on all the ADRs and all the architecture and all the features, I'm going to save out small markdown files that represent small parts of the app. So this is the modeling mode. And if we keep going down, see there's a lot of conversation going on. I start to get I decide that we're going to make an overview. So get to look at the overview. And of course, for something with this complexity, the overview is absolutely massive. And it's good as a reference and just something to read through and get gripped in the head how it's going to be. But in terms of context for the agent, I don't think it's going to be that useful unless we unless we go to specific points in it. Okay, soon enough we come down to here. Okay, so I'm basically asking to split out the whole conversation into smaller markdown files that my agent is going to use for context. And this is where it started. We've got the overview, we've got navigation and permissions, categories, talker and play modal, that's a feature, modeling mode, another feature, symbol editor, that's a component, resource library, that's a section of the website, and so on. And I keep refining this, and every time I change something, every time I come on a new some new knowledge or some new learnings. I change that document, and what happens now is I'm building up my docs folder. This is the actual app project. So I've got this folder here that I've made, and it's got my documentation laid out in a certain way. Got the inbox, research, design, builds, and the PRD. So in the inbox, I've got an ideas folder, and I'm chucking just literally just chucking all of them in here like markdown files. And this plan, I'm using it and I'm following it, and it's really keeping me on track. This plots the whole journey of building the entire app. So we see phase 0 is just the project scaffold. Phase 1, authentication and account model. And then phase 2, we've got the search page. Phase 3, categories and multiple profiles. Okay, then we've got the symbol editor and the modeling mode. This is a phase that I've just done, phase 5. And it's split them up into about 8 phases, I think. Yeah, phase 8, the homeschool connection. And I have to. One of the reasons why I'm making this video is it just works really well. I have a lot of documentation and I'm always updating it, but it's making progress on this much better than when I was making the MVP. I have to say. And then, so I just wanted to show my general docs. This is what controls Claude Code. Okay, so if anyone's using Claude Code, you know that it by default looks at Claude MD, which is this. So the Claude.md file is basically it's the director, it's the pointers to the build plan, the overview, the schema, just the general inbox ideas, everything. Design screens from Figma, exports, and it's got my stack, it's got my convex projects that I want to link, pricing and critical rules. This is a very important section, so it will always do these things in it because I've told it that I'm doing different languages. It always, for any copy, and it's done this, I haven't even had to ask it to do any copy. For any copy, it always updates these two. It puts it in English and it puts it in Hindi, which is the same with English at the moment, but I'm just putting the in brackets HI, and then I can get this translated into Hindi afterwards. So I've never had to do it to tell that once. It's all taken direction from the MD file. In design, which are also referenced in the Claude MD, it's got all the designs and as many screens that I could make in Figma saved out as PNGs. You've got the modals, you've got the different states of the categories page. So yeah, there's a lot of these, and this is again, it's just more reference for Claude Code when it's coding, and I have to say it's really useful. Also in the design folder we have the design system, which is the typography scaling that I've got, the design system, and the themes that I've exported from Figma. And when you export them from Figma, you can get them as JSON files coming straight out. So this is another link that Claude Code can use to make the themes correctly. That's the design folder, and then in the builds we've got we've got more documentation. As I'm trying to use this as a learning experience, so as I come across things that I don't understand, I'm using MARP and Claude Code to make kind of like study notes for me, to help explain the how things are working. So this is a particular one for the design system and how we get the Figma variables into the JSON key and get CSS custom property. It's just me wanting to know exactly how my project runs. This is about the locale switching of the languages. So we've got the telling me how the URL works, how it goes to the layout, which calls request, which goes to gets the messages, gets it back to gets that all back to the next international client provider, and then that's the use translation functions is from this provider and gives the right copy for the right language. Um, yeah, so that's the code explained. Every time there's something that I think I'm not understanding, I get it explained that. This is a very important folder. So decisions. Every time I make a slight change of direction or a decision that's going to affect architecture or anything really, I just jot it down in an ADR. I'm separating them out into different MD files, and I prefer it like that. It's much better to have a short read, and you kind of get you can scan through it, or you can give it a proper read and you can get the gist of it, rather than going through hundreds and hundreds of lines. This is my most recent one from today when I did the modeling mode, and one of the most important changes we made was, instead of fading um, all the components on screen out with an overlay, we decided to have a backdrop which was black, and then we would have whichever buttons needed to pop out using the Z index. And this was a great solution to a problem that I've been thinking about for a long time. We didn't get it in the Claude Web, but actually when we're coding it, the agent came up with this solution and it works really well. Okay, so that's the decisions. And the last one is the 5, the PRD. This is empty at the moment. I'm going to start populating this with actual shipped features of markdown files and images and stuff like that for reference. But yeah, that's it. That's basically all I have to say. I wanted to keep it short. That is how you control Claude Code. Get yourself a documentation system. It doesn't have to be exactly like this. The whole point of a lot of this is it can be customizable to your needs. But get yourself a documentation system, get your sketches in there, get your designs from Figma in there, put whatever notes, and get Claude Code to organize it in a really structured way. Then when you make your Claude MD file, you can just create pointers to it, and it just helps the agent stay on track. It helps it stop doing its own thing, making up systems. Even, I have to say, my project, the way I organized my actual project folders is also in there. This is how I want my components folder to be structured, with the domain, the type, and then if it's if it's an app, marketing or admin, it needs to be in the proper sections, UI or modals, or a page.txt. I'm very strict on how this, and that's why I put it in a critical rule. And if you go to the actual build of this, there in the app folder, you can see it's very well organized into, these are the pages, these are the components, and within the components we're very structured with modals, sections, UI, and it's like that for all of the modals, sections, UI, and it's very structured. And then I've got the shared, which is also modals, sections, and UI. Then we've got all our contexts in here. That's the app provider. All the different contexts and providers are all in here. There's quite a few. Yeah, it just keeps things organized, and that's from my critical rules in Claude MD. So yeah, not to go too much about that, but yeah, control your Claude Code. Don't let it control you.